Hello, Tottenham fans. I hope you're all doing well today. Hope you've all recovered from the latest loss. I just want to talk about that game a little bit because there was a bit of an uproar when Ange dropped certain players for the game to give them a bit of a rest. And there's many people saying to me he should have played them in a big game against Manchester City. But in this video, I want to tell you why Ange Postecoglou was right in what he did. And I also want to talk about why we should still be pretty excited for, this season. We don't have to just keep waiting for next season. This season it could still be one of our best seasons in a long, long time. So why was Ange right? Well, first of all, he said he dropped them because of he wanted to give them a rest. Kulu, Sonny and Spence are the three players that I'm talking about. Kulu's played and Sonny and Spence have played a massive amount of minutes in the last couple of months. Jed Spencer's had to cover left back, right back, centre back. He's not been having a break at all. Still been playing fantastically well, by the way. He's such an athlete. Sonny, how many people were complaining that Sonny was, overplayed, tired? Oh, we need to sell him in the summer. Sonny's not as good as he used to be. Sonny needs a rest. And as soon as Sonny gets rested, there's an uproar. Why wasn't Sonny playing? Ange can't win either way. We can't win. Kulu's amount of times people said to me, Kulu's off it. Kulu's nowhere near as good as he was at the beginning of the season. Kulu looks knackered. Kulu looks tired. And then as soon as Kulu gets rested, bang. Why is Kulu rested? We needed him against Manchester City. Well, we need him against everyone. He needs a break at some point. And before you start saying these players were rested for a week before that, and a week before that they were rested, they've been playing for 2.5 months. It doesn't just take a couple of days rest here and there to get over that. It's a long, long period where you're not getting any breaks whatsoever. And it's not just physically, it's mentally too. So they did deserve a break. And let's look at who replaced them. Okay, Spence came out the team. Porro came in the team, and Udogie, right? Our two first choice fullbacks at the start of the season. These two players are not exactly the biggest drop-off in level, although I think Spence is our best fullback now. But, Porro had a very, very good game against Manchester City when we beat them 4-0, so maybe that was a thinking. Udogie needs game time. He's only just come back, so he needs to play. And for me, he didn't look that bad at all, to be honest. I still think Spence is better, but these two are not exactly a massive drop-off. They're still very good players. Now, let's look at Kulu. Kulu came out of the team. Who replaced him? James Maddison. James Maddison played in the 10. I think James Maddison's had a pretty decent season so far this season, and I think he played all right against Manchester City. He was even putting tackles in, if you remember. So so Maddison's not a massive drop-off in the 10 for Kulu. In fact, they're probably about even. Then there's Sonny. Sonny finally gets a rest, and we put in Odegaard. Odegaard is fresh, hasn't had much game time. He needs game time, and he had a very good game against Man City. He was taking them on. He was using a lot of skill. He was quick. Everything we've been asking for from Sonny, but Sonny's been too tired to do it. Giving these players a rest is going to help massively going forward. Ange is looking at the bigger picture, and looking at the bigger picture is what we need to be doing. And how many times have we complained that, Ange has been blamed for injuring all his players because he overplays them, overtrains them, which is ridiculous, by the way. We couldn't even train for the last 2 months. But they're saying he's overplaying these players. He had no choice. He didn't have any other players. But now he's rotating. They're saying he shouldn't have rotated because we wanted to beat Manchester City. Which is it? Which do you want? Because we've got nearly a full squad now, and by the time the Europa League comes around, we're going to have a full squad. Ange has said it himself. When we go into these European games now, we're going to have 2 games per week again. It's going to be taxing on all the players, and he needs to be able to rotate. The good thing that's come out of all of these injuries, though, in my opinion, is like the silver lining for all these injuries, because this injury crisis was insane. No team would have coped with what we went through. Can you imagine, now, he can rely on Archie Gray, he can rely on Bergvall, he can rely on Spence. Bergvall's probably the first midfielder you put in the team now. Gray, he finds a place for him because he's so good. Spence is our best fullback now, and then to add to that, Danso's been signed, so he looks like a quality centre back as well, with a lot of pace and strength and power and good in the air. Then you've got Kingsky is an upgrade on Forster, in my opinion. We've got Telwyn as an extra player now, as an extra body. He's taken his time to adapt. He's not adapted just yet, but there's still time for him to do that. We're having Richie coming back soon, so there's going to be no pressure on Tel. Richie and Solanke will be back. So we can rotate him in. Maybe he can come in and start being a super sub at first, but then gradually become part of the first team. But again, we've got so many bodies now. The squad's looking a lot stronger, and hopefully they're all going to be available for when we start this Europa League campaign. Well, when we start the knockout campaign anyway. So for me, I think Ange made the right decision. He's not risking... Can you imagine if Spence started the game against Manchester City and got injured? Right? What would have been the narrative? You all know the narrative would have been, oh, you overplayed him, that's why he got injured. Now he can't play in the Europa League. Now we're a man down. Ange would have got blamed for that. Imagine if Sonny or Kulu got injured. Ange would have got blamed for overplaying them, because they have played every single minute nearly in the last 2 months. They needed the rest, and I'm so glad that they got it. And Ange was 100% right. He's not just looking at the Manchester City game. He's looking at the Alkmaar game. He's looking at the game after the Alkmaar game. If we get through against maybe a Sociedad, I don't know who we're playing in the next round. I can't remember. But he's looking at the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, the final. He's planning ahead for all of this, and that's what he should be doing, in my opinion. So, as much as what frustrates me the most is whatever decision he makes, the Ange outers will 100% find a reason to say he got something wrong, because they're so blinded by the hatred of him that they can't see any... It's hard to see any common sense anymore. Like, you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm trying to word this right, because I'm not trying to offend anybody who wants Ange out, because that's your opinion, or you're entitled to it. But when you're not seeing things because you want him out so bad, that's what's frustrating for people like me, because I'm trying to say, look, we're trying to be level-headed about it. We're trying to say, look, all these injuries. Look at Arsenal, for example. They've only had injuries to 3 or 4 forward players. That's it. We've had that on top of midfielders missing, on top of wingers missing, on top of our defence missing, on top of our goalkeeper missing. But no one showed us any empathy. Anybody ever said was, everybody's got injuries, you shouldn't be where you are in the league. Arsenal can't buy a win now, and they're only missing a few players. See what I'm saying? And they're supposed to be going for a title, and they haven't scored a goal in the last 2 games. Yeah, and they're only missing a few players. They've got the rest of their team there, and they're not scoring goals. Now that they can't score from corners, they can't score at all. It's just very frustrating, the amount of hatred and narratives that get brought up about Spurs, but they don't. The same thing happens to another team, and for some reason they get a pass. It's very, very strange. It is very strange to me. But we've still got really exciting times ahead of us this season, and that's what I wanted to finish on. If we won the Europa League this year, that would be one of our best years probably in 40 years. European Cup competition is a massive, massive achievement if you can win that. For me, it's higher than an FA Cup, it's higher than a League Cup. If we can win that, I'll be over the moon. It's going to be very, very difficult. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be better if you've got a full squad. I'm sure Ange Postecoglou is going to prioritise the Europa League. So when we play league games, we might have Danso and Gray as centre-backs, or Danso and Davis as the centre-backs. And we might have Van der Ven and Romero for the European games. Now, how good would that be? We could even play Kingsky in the Premier League and play Vicario in the Europa League. It depends how deep we go in, but I'm sure he's going to prioritise it. I'm quite excited. The young players that are coming through this season are outstanding, and we've still got a lot more young players to come through yet as well. Jamie Donnelly, I might do a video on him. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on Jamie Donnelly, because he's smashing it for Leyton Orient. He looks top quality, and he'll probably be in the first team next season. Let me know what your thoughts on this video. Thank you for watching, and come on you Spurs.